Science labs, they're a hassle for most students to get into. So what is it that CCC is going to do to help solve these problems?
If you think about a 4-credit English class, it means you're going to be in class 4 hours a week. But when you take a 4-credit science class, it means you're going to be in lecture 3 hours and lab another 3 hours. When we don't have enough lab classes, it's usually because we don't have enough lab space. So we have labs running practically every day, practically from 8 in the morning until fortnight, and then some in the evening. So it's kind of a long-term solution is that we really need more lab space on campus. Not so much like, oh, well, we could just schedule an extra one in here.
Yeah, and would it be possible to build like more lab facilities, either go up with a building or just build more space to it?
Yeah, it's definitely possible. It's it's a matter of money. So if there's funding for it, then it's not impossible to tack on an extra room or add another building. But
what would you want to see done about the amount of labs given due to so many students needing to take science classes?
I think it would be great if people started having, like, I guess a charity type of thing to raise money to get more labs.
What advice would you give to students who need to take science but haven't taken it yet?
The advice I would give them is definitely when looking for a science specifically, check to see if the lab is with the science, because there's always a lecture in a lab.
Why do you think students put off taking science classes?
I think most students tend to have a fear of science because they haven't had a lot of exposure to it. They have the perception that science is really hard. And I think that is kind of like, that's one of those things you kind of put off till you feel like you've had a little more experience, you've had a little more exposure to college in general.
If there aren't enough lab classes for the amount of students taking the course, what would be a good way to fix the problem?
That's a real tough issue, especially during this time, only because the budget constraints are really what drive how many classes we can actually offer. We only have so many instructors. The state requires us only to have so many students in a lab for safety reasons, and there's only so much money to offer classes to pay instructors.
Why do you think students put off taking science classes?
Well, I don't know that all of them do. I mean, you can see this class is pretty full. I think a lot of the students find that they can't get the labs that they need because our labs are real full.
And then if there aren't enough lab classes for the amount of students taking the course, what would be a good way to fix the problem?
We really need to add more lab space. This particular lab is used all during the day, and you can see from it, it was designed in a way, this lab is about 20-some years old, and it was designed in a way that has smaller work areas. And so really a remodel of this lab and additional labs.
Would it be possible to create more lab classes to help create a better availability for students and staff?
We absolutely will be able to do that. We're looking at through a possible capital campaign to expand some of our lab space. And this chemistry lab would be an absolute first on our list to be looking at in terms of expansion and remodel.
For now, students are going to have to continue to bite their nails to try to get into their science labs. But with budget cuts and money restraints, it isn't really possible to bring on more staff and create more lab space.